back about 2016, Mark Farley, who's the head of St. Louis Paranormal Research, calls me up, asks if I wanted to help him out and do the Fox Theater. And of course, I wanted to ghost hunt the Fox Theater. The building's incredible. So we went in, they gathered us all together in a little group and said, well, first off, there was a bunch of employees there, and they told us there's a ghost in the projection room, and there's ghosts on the stage, and there's ghosts, down in the dressing rooms. And then the lady who was telling us says, and there's a ghost downstairs, but we can't go down there. That's the mean one. That's what she told me. Well, naturally, I wanted to go see the mean one. And one of the guys who worked there, it turns out to be a bigwig with the thing. He says, hey, if Dan's going, I'm going. So we went down with a few other people from St. Louis Paranormal, went in and got to talking with the ghost. I used dowsing rods and K2 meters. And I'll tell you what, the Fox Theater is so cool because the ghosts there will actually set both off, the meters and the rods, make them cross, make them separate, yes and no. So the ghosts are very, very strong. Well, I went down, met one immediately. I started calling him Sam, and the reason is I asked what the first letter of his name was, if it was between A and D, E and whatever. Going on down the line, we got S. Second letter was A. I said, can I call you Sam? He said yes. Good. So I'm talking to Sam, and turns out, first off, Sam says he is a murderer. He murdered a child and a woman back in the 20s. And he was not going to cross over because he was happy there, and he's afraid of judgment and being judged and sent to hell. So he's going to stay right there, still a mean person, but he wanted to confess to me. Well, I talked to him for about 2 hours, and that's kind of neat because generally in a ghost hunt, if I get 10, 15 minutes, it's amazing. But I finally said, Sam, I want to go and check out the other ghosts here. So I was going to leave. When I stood up, every device, every piece of electrical equipment in the room went insane. The sound was horrendous, just this loud racket. And I finally sat down and it all stopped. So he didn't want me to leave. And I sat there and I talked to him for another hour or two. And then I said, Sam, I'm going to go. And the guy who was there, who didn't believe in ghosts, and now he did, he wanted to stay and talk to Sam some more. I started to walk out, and over a Frank's box, which is a device we use for ghosts to talk through, he said, the ghost, wait. And guys, we got this on video. It's amazing. By the way, on my website, spookstalker.com, I got a few of the videos from some of my adventures I posted today for you all to see. And I will post a few of these if I can find them and let you see them too. So anyway, we all heard the word wait. I had to go because actually I had to use a restroom. So I left, went into the restroom. As soon as I walked in, the lights dimmed and came back on. And there was noise coming from the stall next to me. There was nobody in there. And Sam had told them he came with me. In fact, we got that on recording too, where they said, Sam, did you go with Dan? And he said, yep. So that was kind of cool there. At the same time, I know some of the other investigators went into the projection booth, and they brought a woman sensitive in with them. Well, the projectionist, whose ghost is still in there, does not think women should be in the projection room. He's just dead set against that. When they brought this particular psychic in, a set of headphones lifted up off a peg that was in the wall and flew across the room. So that's the Fox Theater, and that's pretty incredible. I wasn't able to do in 2016 the tours, but I did help them out in 2017 and 2018. And in 2018, I met some new spirits in the same room. One of them was also strong enough, and I actually gave the rods to a totally different person, an employee of the theater, never touched rods before, never ghost hunted before. Her name's Morgan, and she's on stage with me now. They put me on center stage this year. And again, this ghost was setting off the K2 meter and the rods at the same time. And she said there were ghosts of children there because prior to the Fox Theater, there was a church there. And some of the kids who had died in infancy or as children are still there. But they're playing because they play with the other kids. And this particular spirit liked to get the kids out of the room with Sam, the mean ghost, and they'd play all around the theater, hide and seek. She was keeping the kids happy, but keeping them away from what we called the bad ghost, Sam. That place is crazy. And right now, well, when I was in the same room, the first 2 years that I did the ghost tours, Sam and her and a couple other ghosts would set the meter off on request. I'm telling you, the folks that came in on the tours were never disappointed because those meters would go off when we asked them to. Now that we're on the stage, I've met two whole new ghosts. One is Nora. She says she was a dancer there in the 30s, and she sets the rods off for people, makes them cross. I can't get her to do the gauge, the meter, but I can get her to do the rods. And as part of our thing, when the tours come to us, we hand out dowsing rods, and they get to feel the ghosts move the rods for them. It works 75% of the time. Some people it doesn't work for them. But those that do come out believers. I'm telling you guys, the Fox Theater is amazing. If you can't get on ghost tours, and I think they're sold out for this year, next year, don't forget about them because that place is just incredible. And the looks of the place, the structure, the architecture, yeah, it's really, really cool. Did get one video one of the other guys got. And what I say by that, I had given the rods to some people, explained how to use them, and walked away. And when they got what they got on their video, they sent it to St. Louis Paranormal Research, who sent it to me. And what it shows is this guy standing here with the rods, talking to the spirits, asking them if they liked Hamilton. And while they're there, an orb comes over his shoulder, comes down between the rods, and the rods say no. And then it zips off. So, and I do believe there's more to orbs than just dust. Not a lot of it is dust or moisture, but in this case, he asked a question. It's like the spirit in an orb form came there, opened the rods. It's amazing what happens there. So that's one. What else we got? I guess we could talk about the old Enoch's Knob Bridge. That was probably the most haunted place in Franklin County that I dealt with. That, the John Bush Brewery, and of course the Diamonds, the old Tri-County truck stop. But the one Enoch's Knob Bridge was fun because, like the Fox Theater, the ghosts were fun. The ghosts there like to play. They like to get attention. There was a young man who was killed fell off the bridge and was killed. I've got when, where, and how. In fact, it's in my books. And I talked to him. He was very playful. He likes girls too. Let me tell you, you bring a female investigator, he has fun with them. There's a spirit on the other side of the bridge. He was murdered and burned under a car. This happened about 2005 or so, I think. I know I was there, but I don't remember. I was there in police work in Franklin County. And he's not as, friendly. But the one on the other side, Patrick, he's a blast, and he never disappoints. The bridge is gone now. It's been torn down. There are other things. There were legends of ghost dogs. There was legends of imps or trolls or whatever hangs around bridges. I never saw anything like that. But one night, I was there with a ghost hunting group out of Union and a ghost hunting group out of Scott Air Force Base called the Fly Girls. Good group, wasn't ready for the kind of ghosts we have around there. And while we was out there, and they were on one side of the bridge, and me and another guy went to the other side of the bridge. Beautiful night, starry, very little light pollution out there, so the stars just stand out amazingly well. And a curtain of black came down. And I don't know how else to describe it. It was a curtain of black. And suddenly, I could not see to the other side of the bridge, and the people on the other side couldn't see me. But we could hear each other, and it finally faded away after a while. That was about all the Fly Girls could handle. They got frightened and was ready to go home. They got frightened on the way out there when they saw shadow people in the fields and running around the car, but the curtain did them in. That was wild. One night I was out there ghost hunting. Again, I just went out there. There was another group out there. Talked to them, worked with them for a while. And there was this guy, and I don't know his name. He told me he was a son of a detective in Franklin County. If anyone knows who he might be, he showed me the most amazing video. There was a legend in this old bridge that if you honk the horn 3 times, flash the lights 3 times, something to that effect, there'd be ghosts show up or the demon dogs or whatever. But he was really nervous when he come to me. My wife was there and another officer was there, and he wanted to show me this video, and he was very nervous. His girlfriend walked away. She wanted nothing more to do with it. And it was an old flip phone. It's how old it was. God, I hope he still got it, because I'd love to see it again. And when he showed it, they were videoing him and a friend pulled up on the bridge, just playing around, and said, well, he reached over and he shut off the engine, and he said something to the effect of, oh, the engine died. I'm so scared. And the other guy's, yeah. And then he turned off the headlights and he said, oh, the lights went out. I'm so scared. And the other guy said, dude, let's knock this off, man. This isn't fun. So the guy, after he played this game a little bit longer, he finally said, okay, started the car, turned on the headlights, and there was something he was videoing right in the windshield of the car. It was, all I can describe it as, it was like an imp. It was small, it was dirty, it had red hair with like I almost want to say a Pippi Longstocking thing coming out of red hair, and it spun, and that ponytail comes straight out, and it spun once and disappeared, and then these guys dropped the phone screaming and getting off that bridge. One deputy once told me he went on there. He was a deputy who actually first found the burning car with the guy under it. And he said he went back out there once. The car, when he pulled up to the bridge, everything died. The radio, the engine, everything just shut down. And he coasted across the bridge. He said, when I got to the other side, Dan, I started it back up. And after that, he was never going to go back out there again. So that's another story. Now, one I haven't written about yet. A retired deputy contacted me about 1.5 years ago, wanting to tell me a story, and finally got him on the phone. And he said, one night he was out there because he got a call of a disturbance. And he said he went out, and when he come around the corner, which if you knew the road at the time, it went through like the front yard of one farm and around sharp corners. Finally, he gets there. He said there was about 300 cars parked out there and about 500 people standing around in rows. And he said when he stopped and asked what they were doing, they said they were trying to summon a demon. Now, is that the reason the place is so haunted? We found Ouija boards out there. We found all kinds of pagan stuff for summoning ghosts. I don't know. It's possible. but I never found anything evil out there. Everything I dealt with was either angry, but a human spirit, or it was Patrick on the other side being playful. I got an audio, and it's amazing because I took a couple of girls out who were trying to learn to ghost hunt. I was teaching them. And I didn't even take anything with me but a camera, because this was them. This was for them to do. So I parked. They parked behind me. They were getting their equipment together. I walked away. And one of them noticed their recorder, their camera was about dead, which happened out there a lot. And I remember she looked to the other girl, and you could hear it on the audio. And she said, "I'm going to need this tomorrow." And after a second or two, there was this low voice, and it was so awesome, that said, "Go to hell." I think it was Patrick, because Patrick was a joker, and he had them scared when they heard it. They wouldn't quit right after that. So that's Enoch's Knob Bridge. Again, not there anymore, but that place was amazing. I know another group went out there and said Patrick said he liked Marlboro cigarettes. So he lit one and then held it like this, and has video of the glowing end getting brighter and going down as if somebody was inhaling from it. So I guess that was Patrick. That was, again, very haunted place, a lot of fun. There's so many places I've been. I think, well, I'll tell you what, we started talking about, I brought up John Bush Brewery. It's still in Washington. For those folks who don't know, Adolphus Bush, who formed with his father-in-law Anheuser-Busch, which is still big today, Budweiser beer, he actually went to his brother's brewery in Washington, Missouri, and learned from him how to make beer. That was one of the places he learned from. But his oldest brother, John, did have a brewery in Washington. It was actually called the Washington Brewery. Big complex. They made beer until Prohibition. And then during Prohibition, they sold all their equipment off to someplace in South America. And when the Prohibition was over, they became part of Anheuser-Busch. Of course, John was gone by then. But they did make beer. The first Bush brewery was actually in St. Louis, and then the second one was there in Washington, and then Adolphus built the third one. Place is amazing. The ghosts there are also a lot of fun. Nothing evil, nothing bad. There's a couple of angry ones, but they are human. The last time I got to ghost hunt there, the new owner has let me in one time because it was a money-making thing, and it was for the county's bicentennial. And I had said we will, for the bicentennial, do ghost hunts in historic buildings. And I did the Harney Mansion and that one and a couple others. Tri-County Truck Stop was one. So we went there and did some stuff at Bush, took some people through. There was one spirit I dealt with before, and he was upstairs. And you go through the cave, that's the limestone building where they used to keep the beer cool. And then the next room had a fireplace, and there used to be a stairway up. There's a door that leads out to the roof. And he used to stomp around up there. He was too cowardly to come to us, but he would stomp around up there. I think it was the same one I dealt with this time. And they called me back because he was threatening the women who worked there. So I went back, and my friend Tim Clifton, who's a sensitive, great guy, he said, "Dan, don't turn your back on him. He will stab you in the back if he gets a chance." Me being me, I turned my back on the guy on where we thought the ghost was, and I said, he ain't got the guts, or something to that effect. Again, got it on video, and the meter went off immediately. It was as if he was trying to grab that and hit me with it, just like Tim said. The very amazing ghost, amazing times we've had there. And I bet I've ghost hunted that place 30 or 40 times. Great. It was always great. Back when Roger Langendorfer and his good wife Rhonda owned the building, they pretty much let us in all the time, anytime we wanted. And oh, the place was just incredible. First time I was there, I actually had I guess it was 2009, I had a ghost conference. The first one ever held in Franklin County. We held it right there. I didn't realize how haunted the place was at the time. Mark Hausman, who is just an incredible source of information for Washington, he was there and he was talking about the ghosts of the Bush Brewery, the history of it, the people who ran it, created it. And while he was talking the whole time, and we'd been all around there setting stuff up all day, back in the corner was about a 9-foot aluminum hollow tube, pole, I guess. I don't know what it was there for. I guess they were going to run power through it or something at one time, power lines through it. But it was leaned up against the corner, hadn't moved all day. We'd been all around it. There were 64 people in that building that day. And in front of 64 people, while he was talking about Fritz the ghost, Fritz was what we would call a hobo. He showed up there and they gave him a job and he ended up dying there. But he started describing Fritz and this about 9-foot tall or 10-foot tall pipe in front of 64 people lifts up about 6 inches, comes right down across his shoulder. And we all seen it, we all gasped. It wasn't like it just flipped over. There was nobody near it. He was standing, there was a table, and then he was standing in front of the table. This thing went up over and down. I think Mark became a believer after that because he always said he wasn't a believer in ghosts, but I think that one did it for him. And again, there was a Confederate soldier in there. The Confederates housed their officers in the Bush Mansion and their men in the Bush Brewery when Price made his final raid through Missouri and burned the railroad there in Washington. And we did confront a soldier, and things always got more intense when we brought a Confederate flag in. Roger used to go in and talk to him. And one time we set up our meters, set up all of our stuff, turned on an Ovilus, which is a device ghosts can talk through. And one of the few times it didn't, it always started out dictionary mode, and then it would list some words while it took its measurements. And this time it asked for Roger first thing. So that ghost was pretty cool too. The John Bush Brewery was very, very haunted, and it was always so much fun to be there. I've got video of one guy with a K2 meter asking the ghost to stop setting it off, now turn it on, now turn it off, now set it on. I took a group of investigators from St. Charles in there, all scientists, scientific kind, mathematicians and all this. And the ghost was flashing a flashlight off and on for them and making a heavy weight swing back and forth. So we had a good time there. Like I said, very haunted, a lot of fun, pretty cool. Then there's Tri-County Truck Stop. Tri-County Truck Stop, the Devil's Diner, if you will, sits over in Gray Summit, I guess, right there off the highway. Used to be a stop along Route 66 before Interstate 44 was built. And that place has some ghosts I don't think I'd want to tangle with. I was there on the first and third investigations they ever had. In this case, I guess at the time they were Missouri Paranormal Research Society. Later on, they became Paranormal Task Force. Great guys, worked with them a lot. They invited me in with them on that investigation. First time I ever met Tim Clifton, who still works with me today. And on the first investigation, I was down in the basement, had a recorder going. And we were having troubles because people kept coming up and down the steps, looking, walking around, just touring, I guess. And when they finally shut that down and said, we're doing a lockdown, everyone stay where you are for 30 minutes. Nobody leaves. And I said, all right, now it's just you and me. And the recording, right after I said that, there was a voice that said, good. So that time I got a rock thrown at me. There was a a guy they discovered when they did the history of it that used to live down there in the late 70s, Vietnam War vet. They had his name, I don't recall what it is, and he liked to throw things at people. In fact, the last time they saw him, according to the stories, he actually threw a knife at a St. Louis gang runner, gangster, and his last time he was seen, that guy's bodyguards was chasing him across the highway down towards where 44 is. So who knows whatever happened. They never saw him again. But he used to get angry. He considered the basement his place, and he liked to throw things. And he threw a rock at me. I was on the first and third investigations there. The second one, they had a reporter from the Washington, Missouri newspaper. And while they were down there, a rusty old knife that had been laying in the floor for years was thrown. Went end over end and hit the ductwork above the three investigators. And the reporter got to see it too. There's a lot of stories comes out of there. I believe the place is very haunted. And it was on the third one, I suppose. My wife and I were there, and it was early in the ghost hunting career. Started going up the steps, and I passed Tim. Tim was being helped down, and he said, "Dan, be careful up there. This one's bad." And it had picked him up and thrown him into a wall. And Tim ain't easy to pick up and throw, guys. Let me tell you, he's a heavy fella. Well, we went up, then Tim come back up. There was about 8 or 10 of us up there. And while he was trying to get this ghost to do something, I saw a shadow pacing back and forth against the wall, but nobody in the room was standing or sitting. I mean, we were all sitting. Nobody was just standing. Nobody was pacing. We were just sitting. During that time, I kept trying to figure out where it was coming from. There was a window, and I guess kind of sort of thought maybe somebody was on the balcony outside. Couldn't figure out how the light made a right angle turn, but we'll check it out. So I walked over there, and by then Tim had said, "Hey, does anyone else see this shadow on the wall?" And I said, "I've been watching it for 10 minutes. So I said, "What do you see now?" And Tim said, "Well, its shadow and your shadow is both on the wall." Okay, well, then I stood in front of the window and I said, "Now what are you going to do?" I heard about 11, 12 people in the room all go at the same time. Scared the hell out of me. I thought I was about to get eaten. And Tim, in the most calm voice, just says, "Dan, it's above you." And he told me later, when I challenged it by saying, "What are you going to do?" when I stepped in front of the window, it raised up off the ground and moved till it was over me, and we were just one big shadow together, like it was standing on my shoulders. So that was an intriguing place. Like I said, that place was pretty wild, very, very scary place. I've been able to go back. I've done some charity ghost hunts there last year and the year before for actually for the Friends of the Library at the Pacific Scenic Regional. And it was fun. It is a neat place. I'm not overly afraid of ghosts or anything, but there's something there. That's how to end it.
I have one question. Have you been to the Missouri Penitentiary and have you looked for ghosts out there?
I have. In fact, I've led, I guess, one ghost hunt there and been on one. I arranged it. I have two. There was two. Okay. Went with Jefferson City Paranormal, and a bunch of people I know had bought tickets, as did I. And it's for the preservation. So I'm not going to shortchange them. I'll pay my own way. And Jefferson City Paranormal was there. And I was there before they took the doors off the dungeon, the solitary confinement. Solitary confinement back then had big steel doors on it. They've taken them off since then. And when they shut those doors, no light came in. And anybody who was put in there, there might be anywhere from 10 to 13 people in that room. And they would open the door once a day to put in a bucket of food and a bucket of water. And when the bucket of food was empty, now that was your toilet. And then they'd shut it, and there's no light in there at all. And I was in one of the rooms there with all the lights out. and I heard the most beautiful woman's voice sing. It was literally a woman singing, and there was no women down in the basement with us, none in the room, no, just men. All the women had went to the part of the prison where they gave people the gas, the death room, the execution room, whatever they call it. So there was no women around, but we all heard that woman singing. And I got up and I tried to find her, and it stopped as soon as I left the room. But that was amazing. We made contact with, and I don't remember their names now. I knew them then. They're in one of my books about Too Hungry to Die. I had a guy who was sitting there with the rods talking to the last man executed. And he asked him if he had sat in that chair when he died. And he said no. The rods indicated no, which would be accurate because the last man to die in the Missouri State Penitentiary was given lethal injection. Everyone else before that had gas. He was the only one who died there of lethal injection. So no, he wasn't sitting in the chair. He was strapped to a gurney, which that's what that's about. So yeah, I've done Missouri State Penitentiary twice, and I led it once. When I went back, Jefferson City Paranormal, I requested them specifically and some specific guides who knew so much. We chased some ghosts around in there. We could see them. We could see shadows, not full-bodied. In one cell, and I am not psychic, guys. I have no psychic abilities at all. But one cell, I opened it up, and it was painted black and red. In the A hall, which is the oldest hall still there. After a while, when they built the prison up more, this was for people who were there long term, and they were getting older, and they got their own rooms. And they were allowed to paint their rooms however they wanted to. This guy painted his in black and red. And I walked up there, and I got stopped right at the door. It was like, literally, there was a field stopping. I finally pushed my way in, and it was just such a creepy feeling in there. But yeah, it was weird. The door was open, but boy, you could feel an energy stopping me from going in. It's incredible. Talked to one ghost there. Talked to him a long time. He said he was a guard, and he said he had been killed. And the way we got it from him, because I asked his age, and I got 60, is when and we thought he meant he was either 60 when he died, or it was in the 60s when he was killed there. He said he was killed by a prisoner. So after talking to him, went to the guide, and the guide went back and said, okay, there was no guards killed by the prisoners or any other way in the 60s here. But there was a guard who was 60 years old who was killed by a prisoner in 1925 or something to that effect. So what he was telling us was true. We just misunderstood it. He wasn't killed in the 60s. He was killed at 60. And he told us when he stayed there, he wanted to cross over, but he was going to punish the guy who killed him. When that guy died in prison, he was standing there. He took his spirit, put him in a cell, and has been guarding him there ever since. And I was trying to get him to just forgive the guy and move on. He wouldn't do it. He hated that convict.
What about Herman? I know you've got several books on specific areas. Have you Herman is one of them?
Oh my gosh, Herman is an amazing town. But and there are so many places. I've done so many places, but I am working now on another Herman book because I've done so much since then. And oh wow, I got to tell you this one. And again, it's because I'm a cop. They let me in. There used to be cells in there for Gascony County Jail. There was actually a legal hanging that took place in that jail cell. His name was Rollins. And he had killed a couple of railroad detectives in a robbery he was doing in Bland, Missouri. He went through his trial. They decided to hang him. He was the last hanging there. From that point on, all hangings were done in the prison. But he's there. So the cells were starting to cave in into the basement. It was starting to break through. They had to get the cells out. The sheriff at the time, Randy Esporst, good man, his secretary went to him and asked if I could ghost hunt there. Her name's Mona, and Mona is quite the gal. Let me tell you, she's a blast. She's a firecracker. And she got him to let me ghost hunt 3 times. I ended up going 4. And we met Henry Rollins. It's William Henry Rollins or Henry William Rollins, something like that. And I was using the rods, didn't even notice he was setting off the meter also. And the fun part is I had a cameraman there. He was afraid of ghosts, but he wanted to do a video about a ghost hunt. And we was in the cell, and I was talking to Rollins, and there was another ghost there wanting attention. And it turned out after a lot of talk, she had come here with them. But we had what's called a Frank's box, which the ghost can talk through. And it said his name 4 times. He heard it first, and we didn't. He thought it come from outside the cell. Next 3 times it come off that speaker. And it kept saying his name. And I finally asked, did you come here with him? And it said yes. And he was not wanting to believe. And then I held the rods, and I've got it on video. I show it when I lecture. And he said, or I said, would you point the rods at the person you came here with? Both rods shot to him. He ran out of the cell, scared to death. It turns out, once we figured it out, it was the ghost of the lady who had lived in his house before he moved there. She loved children. She had like 8 children and 12 grandchildren or something like that. And his wife had just had a baby, and she was there because she loves babies. And she just came with him to let him know, hey, it's me, don't worry. He freaked out though. That was hilarious. Again, got it on video, pretty amazing. Saw something I've never seen before since. They called me up. I actually brought in first a group out of, first my team, and then, or the group people I was working with, then a group out of, I guess, St. Charles next, and then a group out of Kansas come with me. And when the Kansas people were there, they had gotten into this law library they have right behind the judge's desk. And there was a door here that was locked, big padlock, that come from upstairs. And upstairs is full of old insulation, just filthy up there. And coming under the door was footprints from the dust from upstairs. And this was after they had vacuumed it before leaving for the night. Somebody had walked in there and stopped. And there was 2 footprints, and they didn't go anywhere. Somebody would literally have had to step exactly in their own steps backwards to get out. And they called me up to see that. And I said, what else do you notice? Again, folks, I'm a cop. I notice things other people don't. And they looked and they said, what? The right foot's on the left side, the left foot's on the right side. The toes were pointing in the wrong direction. It was like they'd either crossed their legs and stood there, or the ghost forgot which leg went where. So that was cool. The last time we went, there was a couple of paramedics with us. They'd ghost hunted with me in the prison before. And these 2 gals started singing 60s tunes. This was after the cells had been removed. We was in that room. And they started singing, These Boots Were Made for Walking, and Folsom Jail Blues, Folsom Prison Blues, whatever. And when they finished the song, the voice box said silence. The people didn't want to hear them sing. they didn't know the words, and they were butchering these old songs, and I think it upset the ghosts on that. So that was the old Gascony County Jail. Just was incredible. What else we got?
You want to give us just some of your books that you have here, I know we have them in the system here, and they're to pick up and stuff. We've got several people that really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate you being here.
Oh, thank you.
It's been very interesting.
You know, you gave me a microphone and said talk. That's like paradise for me. Yeah, right at the moment, I've got several books out. The original, which was called Beyond the Shadows, it was all in Franklin County. That one's out of print now, but the library still carry them. Missouri Shadows, that was just all of Missouri. I think next I wrote River Shadows, if I remember, and that kind of went through the Midwest, a little to the east, a little to the west. I think I went from Taos, New Mexico, and it was all cities on rivers or near rivers, out Ohio and out to Atlanta, not Atlanta, Savannah. So I did some ghost hunting all around those areas. We've got, I guess, well, let's see, River Shadows, Too Ornery to Die, Herman Shadows, about Herman, but there'll be another one out shortly. Too Ornery to Die is prisons, jails, gangsters, policemen, ghosts of people who were just really tough. And some of it was not so much investigation as interviews. Some of it was investigations, especially the penitentiary. Ohio State Reformatory, I was in there. So that's in that book. My newest one would be Supernatural Washington. And that's all about the city of Washington. We did several places there over the years, including the John Bush Brewery. It's got the final of that, the Tri-County truck stop, which I did one more after that. And that's when that incident with the guy behind me. So it's not in the book, unfortunately. So that's what I've got available. Then I got one true crime book. It's called Nothing Ever Happens in New Haven. It's about the New Haven PD.
Okay, and so did you ever go to, there's a couple of things, did you ever go to Lemp Mansion? I've heard a lot of stories about that from whenever I lived in St. Louis myself. And then the Daniel Boone hanging tree, was anyone truly ever hung on that tree?
I don't think so. That's just where he sat. It was more of a justice tree.
Okay.
And that's where he would sit, and because he was what they call that at the time, Boone was the kind of the administrator for the Spanish government. So as far as, what was the other one you asked about?
Lemp Mansion.
Lemp. I've been there 4 times. I've been there with Troy Taylor, and I've been there with Betsy Bellinger, which she's another really fun gal to be with, and worked there with St. Louis Paranormal Research, and I've yet to find anything there. Now, St. Louis guys have evidence all over. They've gotten some amazing evidence in there. For some reason, when I'm there, it's dead. Just gotta say, it's dead. Probably wrong term for this interview, but whatever.
Yeah, I know there's several hospitals in St. Louis that are no longer there that had stories about
Alexian
them
Brothers.
as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now I have been in the Lemp Brewery, and the brewery, one of the buildings has St. Louis Paranormal's office for their tours. They take tours of the neighborhood, tours of the building. And I've also done the Lemp basements. Yeah, twice. I've chased shadow people. And that's pretty wild. I've discovered, at least in there, if I can get one cornered and there's no way out, it stops. It needs this. The shadow people there apparently need even the smallest crack in the rock to get out. But if there is nothing they can use, they're stuck there. Then they'll charge and go past you. So yeah, I've done chase shadows there twice. If you get the chance to go, Mark Farley, the guy who founded St. Louis Paranormal, has an amazing Ouija board collection there, including several haunted ones. And here recently, Mark calls me and he says, here's what's going on. I just want to run this by you. Lady in England says she's got a Ouija board that is haunted and things are coming out of it. Things are happening around me. And she asked if she could send it to him. And he said, of course. It didn't show up. And finally, when he called to try to track it down, they said it's in Chicago. Then Chicago post office calls him and says, what's in this package? Because since it got here, the lights don't work right. The computers keep shutting themselves down. The electricity ain't working. People walk near it, the lights dim. We've had x-ray machines, drug dogs. We've had every equipment we can find to go over this thing, and we can't figure out what's in it. But whatever it is, something is causing the electrical issues. The drug dogs don't smell drugs, but they also don't get too close to it. They back off. And he had to tell him it's a haunted Ouija board, and I'll take care of it. Just send it to me. But it was actually stuck in Chicago because the ghosts were causing so much troubles with it.
Do you think this has to do with some kind of resonance, possibly, or electrical?
Whatever is in that, and I don't know if it's demonic or just a very strong human spirit, but whatever is attached to it is making things happen to get attention.
Okay.
So whatever it is, it's pretty cool that way.
We've had a great evening with you this evening, and
Thanks.
I've really enjoyed it myself. I think we've got quite a few people that have engaged our post, and they think it's pretty wonderful too. And hopefully we can do this again next year. Maybe we'll have a real bonfire outside and we can all get together and have some fun.
Sounds good. Maybe I'll be farther away from the fire this time.
Well, thank you very much for coming and being here with us.
Folks.
We'll see you next time.
Happy Halloween.